Welcome to the Short Term Show, the show about short-term rentals and long-term wealth, with real property owners hosting real properties who are crushing it in the vacation and short-term rental space. And here's your host, Avery Carl.
Join me live every Thursday for a weekly Q&A all about short-term rental. If you like my vibe, if you're digging the long hair extraordinaire Cash Flow Carl and want to ask me questions in real time, join me at strquestions.com. It's a lot of fun. strquestions.com.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Doing well. Another beautiful day here in sunny Florida.
Awesome. So you guys are investors in the Sarasota and Bradenton market. So can you tell me a little bit about what you own, a little bit of background on how you guys got into real estate?
Sure, absolutely. We currently have 5 short-term rentals in both Sarasota and Bradenton, a mix of single-family homes and duplexes. We kind of started in real estate back in 2013 with single-family long-term rentals. Back then, we were just getting started, just learning, got our first property. We were making $100 a month, but we were real estate investors. So, that was kind of exciting, but the money just wasn't there, so we eventually moved into small multifamily properties, duplexes there. And instead of making $100 a month, next thing you know, we're making $1,000 a month. So that was better. But the next house we bought, we wanted a multifamily, but we wanted to have a pool. So we bought a 2-unit property, and, one side was a 3-2, the other side was a 1-1, little 600 square foot 1-1. And Christina, this is back in 2017, was telling me about this new thing coming up that I wasn't familiar with called Airbnb. And she convinced me to rent that little 1-bedroom as a short-term rental. And that was, our first experience in the short-term rental game. But that little 1-bedroom, 600 square foot unit paid all the bills, paid the mortgage, and put $1,000 in our pocket. So we're like, holy cow, this is pretty cool. So we eventually moved out of the long-term space and went strictly into short-term rental. And, that's where we've been since 2017.
All right. So let's talk about your market really quick. So I say the Sarasota and Bradenton area, but you guys cover a lot more than that. So can you kind of give us some names of the different little markets around there? Because I stopped being familiar with Florida once you go around the Big Bend. I'm Panhandle only.
Sure. We pretty much cover from on the south end, Sarasota, up through Bradenton, and then up into the St. Pete Clearwater area, which is called Pinellas County. So Pinellas County, Manatee County, which is Bradenton in the middle, and then Sarasota County on the south end. Some of the more notable spots are like Siesta Key Beach, Anna Maria Island, Clearwater Beach. Those are the more popular names, but it's that whole general area about an hour south of the city of Tampa.
Okay, awesome. I drove to Tampa and back over the weekend this weekend with 2 small children to go take them to see Billy Joel at Raymond James Stadium.
Very cool.
Yes, it was awesome. They love Billy Joel. My daughter sings the lead vocals on Uptown Girl, and my son, she forces my son to sing the backing vocals, and she yells at him if he messes it up. So he's 3. Anyway, okay. So you've got some true vacation markets and then some vacation-ish markets here. So, the Siesta Keys, the Anna Maria Islands are what I would call the true vacation markets there that a lot of people have heard of. But then when you get to like your Clearwaters, your Sarasotas, it's what I call vacation-ish markets where, yes, people go there on vacation. A lot of them do, but it's still got industry outside of tourism. So I think that makes this market pretty interesting. So let's talk a little bit about the tourism in the area and why people come there. So Anna Maria and Siesta, obviously, to hang out at the beach. But what are some other reasons that people come to this area of Florida?
Sure. The beaches, our number one draw. We have some of the best beaches in the country. The beach is definitely our number one attraction. But like you said, there's other reasons people come. This weekend we have a lot of travelers because our spring training is just starting. So we have spring training for the Orioles, we have spring training for the Blue Jays, we have spring training for the Braves. I think there's about 5 of them in the area. A lot of sports related activities in the area. IMG Academy, the number one sporting school in the world, has tournaments every single weekend. We host people every single weekend for soccer tournaments or tennis tournaments or lacrosse tournaments, football camps. When we don't have true vacationers, like you're saying, or true vacationers staying in our houses, it's those activities, those people who fill up our calendars, which is really nice.
And what's unique too with this market is basically like you don't have to be on the beach to do well. We particularly don't own on the beach.
Yeah, the properties that cash flow much better aren't on the beach, which is definitely different than a lot of the beach markets. Just off the barrier island on the mainland is where the better cash flowing, better performing properties are located.
Okay, that is different than other beach markets. So, and sorry to keep comparing everything to the Panhandle. That's just since I live here, it's easier for me to relate. So up here, you have got to be walkable to the beach to perform well. But you're saying just across the bridge is actually where you find the best performers, which I would imagine are more affordable properties than the barrier island properties, right?
Absolutely. As long as you're within a 15-minute drive to the beach, you're perfectly fine. When you are a little bit further from the beach, you're closer to the other things that people come to visit. Like I said, the people who are coming for sporting events at IMG Academy, or there's another place down here called the Premier Sports Complex at Lakewood Ranch. There's a Bradenton Motor Speedway where people come for drag racing events and things like that. We get questions all the time how close we are to those to those facilities, those places. So when you move a little bit further away from the beach, you're moving closer to those things. So, basically we kind of look at the sweet spot being within 15 minutes of the beach, but again, you don't have to be walkable.
Okay. And how's public parking at the beaches in that area?
It depends which beach you go to. Some of them are more challenging than others, but there's beautiful beaches. Like one of my favorites is called Coquina Beach, where there's tons of parking. There's snack shops, there's restrooms, there's lifeguards, there's everything you need to have a nice family day at the beach and not have to worry about parking.
Okay. So let's talk about, we've talked a little bit about the different areas. We're going to continue on that path and talk about the regulations in the different areas. So this is an area where you really do have to have a local expert in order to not make a mistake, because the regulations can vary from area to area. So can y'all kind of talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Starting on the south end of, where we cover in Sarasota, the greater part of Sarasota County. Sarasota County is a large county, about 735 square miles. The vast majority of that is not short-term rental friendly. It's a 30-night minimum stay restriction. So some people we've met have bought in that area. They think I'm going to get a great vacation rental in Sarasota, and then they realize that they can't short-term rent it. And again, those are tough conversations. Once you move more into the downtown area, it's called the City of Sarasota, and then within the City of Sarasota, it's a 7-day minimum stay. So you do have some more flexibility there. Out on the barrier islands of Siesta Key, it depends where on Siesta Key the property falls. Some of that is in the city, some is in the county. So some is 7 nights, some is 30 nights. But if it's zoned multifamily, to throw another twist in there, then you don't abide by either of those regulations, and you can rent it for 1 night. So again, there's different nuances there.
Yeah, and even like the condos there, some of them are nightly. You can rent nightly. So, even if you're looking at buying a condo, some are nightly, some are 7-day restrictions, some are the 30-day restrictions. So super confusing.
Yeah, when you get to the condos, it's building specific. Moving on to Bradenton area. Bradenton is kind of separated into 2 areas. You have the city of Bradenton, and then you have the outskirts of that, which is called unincorporated Manatee County. In unincorporated Manatee County, there's currently no short-term rental restrictions. So there's no registration with the local county. There's no inspections. There's nothing like that. So you do have flexibility. In the city of Bradenton, there is a very minimal restrictions. Basically, you have to register, and there's an occupancy cap, but that's pretty much it. So it's very flexible there. When you get into Pinellas County, which is where Clearwater and St. Pete is located, it's a little bit more difficult to navigate. There's 24 different cities that make up Pinellas County, and each has their own separate rules and regulations for short-term rentals and where you can rent and where you can't. There's some areas up there like Largo, where TechVestor is very heavily invested, and unincorporated Seminole. Again, TechVestor is very big in those areas. They've identified those as some of the top markets to invest in. And, those are always places where we're looking. Some people don't like looking in those areas because there's rules and regulations. But, if you could find a good house that's in one of those pockets that you can rent in, your competition is less. The purchase prices are usually, a little bit more affordable, and properties up there perform really, really well. So as long as you're willing to, work with somebody who knows how to navigate those waters, you could find a really good deal up in that area.
This episode is brought to you by the premier short-term rental Facebook group, Short-Term Rental Long-Term Wealth. We have nearly 50,000 members. This is the biggest independently owned and operated SCR Facebook group, and it has been curated by yours truly, Cashflow Carl. Join us on Facebook. Search the groups for Short-Term Rental Long-Term Wealth. That's Short-Term Rental Long-Term Wealth on Facebook.
This episode of The Short Term Show is brought to you by The Short Term Shop. 30-year fixed mortgages, tax benefits, and long-distance management training made easy are just a few of the perks of owning a short-term rental. The Short Term Shop can help you buy and learn how to manage your property from anywhere in the world. Just go to theshorttermshop.com and click Get Connected. Again, that's theshorttermshop.com, and we are brokered by eXp. See y'all over there. So for the people who are like, oh my God, I don't want to be in any market where there's other people investing in short-term rentals because then it'll be saturated. This might be a good area for those people to invest because there's a lot of regulations limiting the amount of competition in these areas. So those of you who don't like to see many other rentals, this might be a good spot for you. All right, so we talked about regulations. We've talked about areas. So let's talk about the types of properties. And guys, I'm actually going to take a minute right now to remind you that we do have a 10-episode deep dive, so 10 hours of interviews with John and Christina and other investors in the Sarasota and Bradenton market on our YouTube channel, on our podcast channel. It's just called Investing in Airbnbs in the Sarasota and Bradenton area. I can't remember exactly the way we titled it, but you'll find it on our channels. So be sure to check that out if you guys find this interesting. So now let's talk about property types. So are we looking at single families, townhomes, condos? What do we see work the best in these different areas?
Sure. Go-to is single family pool homes, 4 bedrooms and up. 3 bedrooms can perform pretty well, but there's a lot more competition. I think 84% of short-term rentals in the Bradenton market, for example, are 3 bedrooms or smaller. So there's a lot more competition in the lower bedroom count. And once you get to the higher bedroom count, you could also drive a higher ADR. So I think there's only 9% 4 bedrooms, and then the remaining is 5 bedrooms or more. But definitely that sweet spot is either a 4-bedroom house or a 3-bedroom with a den that can be converted or rented as a 4-bedroom. Got to have a pool, definitely a must to be competitive. So really, 4-bedroom homes with a pool are the best bang for your buck there.
Okay, well, that's pretty easy. So again, guys, and I know you've probably heard this other places too, but it's very true. So it's not necessarily markets that get saturated, but bedroom counts. And John just made a really good point that 82%, you said, 80 something percent?
84%.
84% of the properties in this market are 3 bedrooms and under. So that's definitely good data, or a good data point to have when you go to invest in a market like this. So no condos at all, huh? Condos don't work at all?
Condos are pretty break-even investments. If you want a condo on the beach that pays for itself, we could find you one, but they're not the best cash flowing opportunities, available.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Opposite. There's so many things about South Florida that are the opposite of Northwest Florida. Like our seasons are opposite. Condos work great here, but they don't work great with you guys. But let's talk about seasonality really quick, because y'all seasonality is a lot different than what many investors are used to. So let's hear about that.
So seasonality is one of the best things about our market. We have two peak seasons at opposite ends of the calendar. Our number one season is, basically right now, we're coming into it, March is our number one month of the year, by far. So during February, March, April, we have our snowbird season where people come to get away from the cold weather. But then again, in the summertime, we have another peak season in July. So it peaks in March, slows down a little bit, and then picks back up June and July for the summer traveler. Summer traveler is a little bit different demographic. It's more interstate travel, more people coming for shorter stays, just for a couple days at the beach. But again, being able to have those two peaks at opposite ends of the calendar really helps balance out the cash flow.
Yeah, that's awesome to have two peaks because most markets only have one. Now you mentioned snowbirds, which we have to mention in any coastal market. So what does the snowbird scene look like for you guys? And I'm not talking about are they playing pickleball or tennis? I'm talking about what does that look like in terms of what they rent? How long do they rent? When do they come?
Even just over the years, it's changed. So, when we kind of started in 2017, it was different than it is now. So basically now we see a lot of multi-generational families coming. So we'll see a lot of grandparents that are coming. They're coming for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. One week they're bringing one of their kids and their grandkids. And then the next week they're maybe bringing a couple of friends for a couple of days. And then their daughter and their kids, so another set of grandkids. But typically that's what we've been seeing, which is why those bigger houses with the 4 bedrooms have really been working.
Yeah, and that traveler demographic is specific, I think, to the types of properties that we have. For the properties that are smaller, the 2 bedrooms, 1 bedrooms, the condos, stuff like that. That's the old retired couple that's coming down for 6 months out of the year, 3 months out of the year, whatever it is. But with the larger properties that we have, we definitely see the Christmas break family traveler, or like Christina said, the
Home Alone 2, they're going to Florida.
Yeah, the grandparents will rent it for a couple of weeks, and they'll have one set of kids come down one week, and the other set of kids come down the other week, or something like that.
Okay, so you guys see snowbirds in larger, higher occupancy properties, and not just the 1-bedroom condo properties.
Correct.
Yeah, we do. We get a lot of, snowbirds from Ohio, Iowa. A lot of Midwest travelers is our primary demographic this time of year.
Okay. So for me, up again in a different part of Florida, I don't like renting to snowbirds because they are looking for such a deal that it doesn't make sense to rent it to them monthly and have that wear and tear and then the maintenance afterwards. Is that different in you guys' market?
Kind of going back to the specific properties that, we own, we don't normally get the monthly rentals. It's, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It's very rare that we get, 30 days or more. With the smaller properties, those ones definitely rent for the extended periods, the 2-3 months, like you're saying. But, the primary clients that we get doesn't stay that long in our properties.
Okay. And I think the next question that I have is with coastal markets, I see so many investors who will buy, say they close in March, and then obviously they're coming into the high season, gangbusters all summer. And then it gets to November, December, January, and they're posting all over asking, how do I get booked for the off season? How do I get booked for the off season? And for me, in the markets that I have properties in coastal markets, you just have to be comfortable not being booked for 2 to 3 months out of the year. Is that something that you try to, or that you have to deal with in your market, that there is a defined slow time and you just have to be okay with, all right, I'm not going to be booked for the month of January and we're going to do maintenance during this time, or are you a little less seasonal than that?
September's our slowest month. So yeah, the kids go back to school. So any kind of major maintenance, any kind of updates, we just plan it for September. If we're not doing any kind of major updates, or, we're continuing to rent for that month, the properties, they're not vacant. We're still covering our expenses. We're probably right there on the borderline, but it's not like they're vacant and, we're paying all that out of pocket for those months. They're just at a lower ADR. They're shorter stays. So maybe we got just 3-day reservations on the weekends, in September, but it's not like our calendars are empty. People still come for other things. People still come for weddings. People still come for, to see family.
Yeah, there's a lot of festivals, like seafood festivals, just random events. I mean, in those seasons we have great weather. So, even if it starts to get cold kind of other places, it's still warm here. And so, people will come for a long weekend or something like that.
That's awesome. So no true slow. All right, guys, you're just not going to have any bookings during this month. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, no.
Especially for a coastal market. So that's actually leads me into my next question. So there's a lot of investors out there who really, really want to have that multiple exit strategy option, which in a lot of true vacation markets, you just don't. You can buy it as a vacation rental, you can rent it as a vacation rental, or you can sell it is pretty much your only exit strategy just because of what is the majority of type of real estate done in that market. But with you guys, I think that there might be multiple exit strategies like, converting to long-term or medium-term. Is that correct? Am I wrong?
No, 100%. 1,200 people a day move to Florida. Everybody needs a place to rest their head at night. So long-term rents here are very, very high. In most cases, depending on your interest rate and stuff, you could cover your expenses, if not make a couple dollars, renting the property as a long-term rental. So if short-term rental you decide it's not your thing, you could definitely turn it to a long-term rental, turn it to an annual, and still cover your expenses. Midterm is another, good option. Some people look at, trying to do a midterm rental from September through December or something like that, and then just, capitalize on, the peak months of basically Christmas through Easter. But, on the slower seasons, do it as more of a midterm and, cover your expenses easily and that, by doing that.
Okay. So that might be an option for people who want to maybe try a true vacation market. Sorry, I didn't mean to just clap in my microphone. Try a true vacation market, but still potentially have those exit strategies. So I think that's pretty cool. It's a very versatile market. That is it for my questions. Is there anything that you guys think is super important about this market that I did not touch on that our listeners could benefit from hearing?
No, I think we covered it pretty well. Again, the beach thing, people coming here for other reasons than the beach, is really important. It's really different than a lot of markets. Being able to make money, off of the beach is, another thing that's really different. And then having the 2 peak seasons, to where you can balance that cash flow easily is, another real big differentiator than a lot of markets. So we just like to, help people understand that.
I think another thing that we do see that we didn't mention is sometimes people will come to Disney or Universal or one of those parks in Orlando, and we're about 2.5 hours from there. So we do get people that came into town to go to Disney or in Orlando for a few days, and then they come to the beach for a few days. So we get that as well.
Yeah, we get that a lot in the summer months.
Mm-hmm.
People, want to do a couple days at Disney and a couple days at the beach. So that's another unique factor.
Yeah, I have heard that, especially people who are coming over from Europe, or maybe really even just people who are coming from super far destinations domestically, who are like, well, you know what, we did 3 days at Disney. We're down here, we're from Seattle. Now let's go to a Florida beach for a few days also. I think that that's definitely an important call out because not everybody has access to Florida beaches all the time like we do.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right. So guys, we're to the last 3 questions of the show. First question, what advice would you give 20-year-old John and Christina?
Don't wait.
Yep.
Don't wait.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the age-old, statement about when's the best time to buy real estate yesterday, definitely holds true. Wish we would have jumped in sooner.
I agree with that. I think we all have that advice. All right. And what advice would you give to a new investor who it's almost second quarter of 2024? What advice would you give somebody who's getting started today?
I would say the top thing is like picking out a realtor that knows the market and knows the regulations and the restrictions. I mean, we've had so many people come to us like, hey, we bought here. What can we do? Can you help us? And we're like, oh, if you would have called us beforehand, And so I think that that's a big one that kind of sticks with us a lot.
That and don't wait.
That and don't wait.
Yeah. This market sounds especially tricky in terms of like ways that you could mess up if you don't know what you're doing. All right. Last question, kind of a fun one. What's your favorite book that's impacted your mindset, or favorite book at all? Somebody said Harry Potter one time.
Well, Rich Dad Poor Dad is obviously the classic. That's kind of how we got started. But let's see, I'm drawing a blank.
Your new favorite one?
It can be Rich Dad Poor Dad's okay. So many people come on here and they're like, well, I don't want to say Rich Dad Poor Dad, so let me rack my brain for something else. But that's a good one.
Yeah, I like that. I really like Good to Great by Jim Collins. That's a really good book.
Yes. But yeah, Good to Great is great. Great by Choice. The follow-up to that is also really good. So definitely check those out.
Absolutely.
Well, guys, so thank you so much for coming on. If you listeners are interested in learning more about this market, you can email John at theshorttermshop.com. It's John with an H, or Christina at theshorttermshop.com. Christina, do you want to spell your name? It's spelled what I consider to be the normal way, but I have a cough and I have to take a sip of water.
Sure. Yep. It's Christina. So it's Christina. I don't know if I said that right. I'm spelling it wrong.
Christina with a CH, or just email us at agents@theshorttermshop.com and we'll get you hooked up with both of them. Thank you guys so much for coming on, and we will catch you later. But guys, check out the 10 episode series on this market on our YouTube channel and on all of our podcast channels. Thanks, guys.